Let's go to the next one. Number 5. Stephen Exley says, why did God tell Moses to ask Pharaoh to go 3 days' journey into the wilderness that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God, if it wasn't God's intention for them to return to Egypt? Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question. I was thinking about this just the other day. I don't recall why it was on my mind, but literally the same question. Let's just read a little bit of this passage. I'm going to back up a bit so we can get some context. You need to back up a lot. Okay, so here in you guys know the burning bush, right? Now Moses was keeping the flock in the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the burning bush. That is a Christophany. It's a really awesome thing. I have a video on that somewhere. I'll put it in the description down below later. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses, he said. And he said, here I am. Then he said, do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. I just talked about that a little bit. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their suffering, and have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, goat's milk and date honey. Surprise, surprise for you Americans. To the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now, behold, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I've also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppress them. So God hears them and he sees them. He cares. That's even though they're going through all those hard times, he cares about what they're going through. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Okay, this would seem to be that the initial plan here is take them out all the way, right? Because I'm going to give them a land. So I read that much to say the initial plan was from the beginning, whole, like you suggested in your question, to give them a whole land outside of Egypt, not just a 3-day journey. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? But he said, but I will be with you. And this shall be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you've brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. Then God said to Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say to this people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations. It's interesting that God really wants to be identified with his revelation in the Old Testament. I guess this is a whole side point. I won't get into it. It's super important that we don't unhitch from the Old Testament and we don't separate the identity and purpose and plan and methods of God from what he has revealed in the Old Testament. Remembered through all generations with his connection to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob has appeared to me, saying, I've observed you and what has been done to you in Egypt, and I promise that I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will listen to your voice, and you and the elders of Israel shall go to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us, and now please let us go a 3 days journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. So, hey, why is he, now just to reread your question, why 3-day journey when his plan is to relocate them permanently out of the land of Egypt into this new promised land? So one is the ultimate plan, relocation. This thing is the first step in leading to the ultimate plan. Step 1, request that you may come and just worship me. But I know the king of Egypt will not let you go. So when he refuses to let you go, even just to worship me. So, okay, initially, when the king of Egypt, his initial altercation with God versus Egypt and the idols and the false gods there, it's not about whether or not they will let the people go permanently. The initial altercation, it becomes slightly different. It's about whether God is really God. And that's why the initial request is just let us worship. Just let us go and worship our God. And Egypt and the king of Egypt are like, we have no respect. Who is your God that we should respect him? Meh. And so it becomes this battle between this sort of battle of spiritual priorities, of the power of deities between God, the ultimate God, the God of the Bible, the monotheistic deity, versus all these Egyptian worshipped deities. That, I think, is part of the reason why the initial plan is just let us go worship. It sets the stage for a different discussion. It's not just about God trying to take these people, although he's going to do that. Initially, it's about these battle between gods. Then you get these 10 plagues, and the plagues are each targeted after specific Egyptian deities, right? The Nile River and the gnats and the all the different things, the darkness, right? Like Ra, the sun god, right? It's targeting the supposed deities of the Egyptians, so God can show he is the true God, and these are all just false. I hope that helps. It's step 1 in the plan. It's not the whole plan. Start with 3-day journey, and then we'll lead into the whole thing. I hope that helps.